Every year begins the same way. A new calendar, new promises, new words you've said before. This year will be different. I'll finally change. I won't waste time anymore. And for a few days, you believe it. You feel motivated, focused, almost unstoppable. But then life happens. The excitement fades. Old habits return. And slowly, quietly, the same version of you takes control again. Not because you didn't want to change, but because wanting was never the problem. The problem was your mindset. Not the motivational quotes kind, not the think positive kind. The real mindset, the one that decides how you act when no one is watching. 2026 is not asking you to become someone new overnight. It's asking you to become honest for the first time. Honest about why change never lasted. Honest about what you avoided. Honest about the comfort you protected at the cost of your future. Because real change doesn't fail in February. It fails much earlier. It fails the moment discipline is replaced by emotion. You didn't fail because you lacked potential. You failed because you relied on motivation. Motivation is temporary. Mindset is permanent. And in 2026, if you want real change, you must stop chasing motivation and start rebuilding the way you think. Most people treat the new year like a reset button, but life doesn't reset. Habits carry over. Patterns follow you. The same thinking creates the same results. If you enter 2026 with the same mindset, you'll exit it with the same regrets. New year, same excuses. And that's the part no one wants to talk about. Change doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you teach your mind that delay is acceptable. Every time you quit when it gets uncomfortable, you reinforce weakness, not because you are weak, but because you trained yourself to escape. Your mindset was shaped by repetition, not by intention. So, if you want a new mindset in 2026, you don't need bigger goals. You need new rules. Rules for how you wake up. Rules for how you respond to resistance. Rules for what you do when motivation disappears. Because it will disappear. There will be days in 2026 when you don't feel inspired. When progress feels slow. When quitting feels logical. Those days decide everything. That's where real change either begins or ends. Most people think changing their life means adding something. A new habit, a new routine, a new plan. But real change begins with removal. Removing excuses, removing emotional decision-making, removing the identity that says, this is just how I am. That identity is the cage. And in 2026, you don't break out of it by force. You outgrow it through consistency. This is not about becoming extreme. It's about becoming reliable. Reliable to your goals. Reliable to your standards. Reliable to the version of you that is tired of starting over. Because deep down, you know the truth. You don't want another motivational year. You want a disciplined one. You don't want to feel inspired. You want to feel proud. And pride doesn't come from intention. It comes from execution. 2026 is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one notices. That is the mindset shift. And this time, you don't announce it. You live it. The hardest part of changing your mindset is not learning what to do. It's unlearning what you've been doing for years. You've trained yourself to quit silently, to delay comfortably, to explain instead of execute. And your mind got very good at protecting you from discomfort. It learned how to rationalize laziness as rest, fear as logic, inconsistency as flexibility. That's why change feels so uncomfortable. Because you are not just changing habits. You are challenging an identity. The identity that says, I'll try again later. I'm just not disciplined. I work better under pressure. Those are not facts. Those are habits of thought. And habits of thought can be rebuilt, but only through action. In 2026, you stop waiting for clarity. Clarity comes after movement, not before it. You don't need to feel confident to act. You need to act to feel confident. This is where most people get stuck. They wait to feel like a new person before they behave like one. But mindset doesn't change first. Behavior does. So in 2026, you flip the order. You act like someone who is disciplined, even when your mind resists. You show up when it's inconvenient. You do the work when it's boring. You continue when quitting would feel justified. And every time you do that, your mind updates its story about who you are. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. This is how identity shifts, not through affirmations, through evidence. Evidence that you can be trusted. Evidence that you can endure discomfort. Evidence that you don't collapse when things get hard. And make no mistake, they will get hard. There will be days in 2026 when you question everything. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when effort feels unrewarded. Days when old habits knock loudly. This is where mindset becomes real. Not in the days you feel strong, but in the days you feel weak and still continue. You stop asking yourself, do I feel like it? And start asking, what does the person I'm becoming do in this moment? That question changes everything, because it removes emotion from decision making. You stop living reactively. You start living deliberately. You realize that discipline is not restriction. It's direction. It doesn't take freedom away. It gives it back. Freedom from regret. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from starting over again and again. By mid-2026, something subtle begins to happen. You're not perfect. You still struggle. You still get tired, but you don't quit anymore. That's the difference. You no longer dramatize setbacks. You no longer abandon progress because of one bad day. You correct and continue. And that ability to continue is the real mindset shift. You become someone who finishes. Someone who doesn't need motivation to move. Someone who doesn't need approval to stay consistent. You begin to respect yourself. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And respect is addictive. Once you feel it, you don't want to lose it. So you protect your routines. You protect your focus. You protect your time. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, quietly. You stop explaining your discipline to people who don't live by it. You stop seeking validation for choices that already align with your future. This is when you realize something important. Most people don't actually want change. They want comfort with better results. You chose differently. You chose growth over comfort, structure over chaos, consistency over intensity. And that choice compounds, because mindset is not what you think once. It's what you repeat daily. 2026 becomes different not because the year changed, but because you did. And this time, it lasts.